Hello, and welcome to episode 132 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. We're at episode 132. This episode's a little bit special, I think. Hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. I just want to... So I'm using a new streaming thing today. I'm using AirMozilla 2 as a repeater, and I'm not entirely certain I'm doing it correctly, so let me just quickly double check that I'm appearing where I think I should be appearing and as I think I should be appearing. And if not, well, we've got some work ahead of us here. Let's see. On YouTube, I just need to double check. Yeah, the stream's coming in, but have I changed frames? Yes, I am there, apparently. Apparently you can see me. That's good. Okay, let me know in the chat if things are going wrong, if it's choppy or if it doesn't look good or doesn't look right. Again, I just set this stuff up within the past 5 minutes, so it was kind of a rush job. So if this doesn't work, let me know, and I'll try and switch things around. Hello, everybody. Episode 132. Let's get into it. What are we doing today? Well, first of all, let me share my screen. So this is the agenda. A quick reminder, no plan survives breakfast. Things could go horribly wrong. This is not a planned stream in the sense that I know exactly what I want to do and how I'm going to do it. This isn't like a lecture where I've got things pre-written or pre-planned. This is, I kind of have a sense of what I want to do, but whether or not I get there or whether or not I get there using the techniques that I think I'm going to use is not necessarily the case. I might change my mind, or I might learn things, I might screw up, I might make mistakes. That happens all the time. I'm trying to capture software development in the raw here. So you're going to watch me attack Firefox bugs and deal with things as they come. So that's step one. The second thing is that this agenda that we're looking at, this very vague agenda, is available to you wherever you're watching this. So if you're watching this on the old AirMozilla, there's a link to the agenda in the additional links section down below. If you're watching this on the new AirMozilla, then check the handouts part. I don't know where that is. Handouts might be over here somewhere. Check out the handouts. There should be a link to the agenda. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then check out the video description that's below. And if you're watching this on Facebook Live, check out the pinned comment down below. And if you're watching this on Twitch, well, there's no great place for me to put links in Twitch, so I'm going to instead drop a link into the Twitch chat. That's the best I can do, so let me just quickly copy that URL and drop the agenda into the Twitch chat. So hopefully you can see that. There's also a link in the agenda to rate this episode, so you can let me know what you think. I read everything that comes in, and it allows you to give me feedback on this particular episode. I read everything. I use it to help shape the series, so please leave me feedback and let me know how I'm doing. So that's one thing. The second thing, before we get into it, I want to plug two things, actually. One is the episode guide. So the episode guide is a viewer-driven episode guide. This is a page that lists all of the different episodes I've done, going up to 127. So it's behind by a couple episodes, but this is completely viewer-driven. This is a GitHub repository of pages, and you can contribute to the episode guide. And some of these are actually pretty neat in that they link not only to the episode and to the agenda, but also cover some of the topics in case you're curious about what went on in a particular episode. And you yourself can add your own notes or corrections or addendum or appendices to the episode guides. You just have to send a pull request to the repository. And there's a link in the agenda on what a pull request is or how to send a pull request. There's a guide here on explaining what a pull request is and how to send one that you might find useful. And do check that out. Also, I'm transcribing these episodes. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the last couple of episodes, but I've been using Mozilla Deep Speech to automatically transcribe the episodes so that we can get closed captioning and then hopefully translations. And I'm using a service called amara.org to transcribe them. And so if you look at the Joy of Coding, here's the script that I used to do the automatic transcription, which you can use yourself if you want to use deep speech and transcribe some videos. And here's a spreadsheet that shows where I am with the automatic transcriptions, and I've gotten pretty far. I'm up to episode 65. These ones are currently in progress. I've got a machine called Beast Mode, which some of you might be familiar with. Beast Mode is my Linux box. My beefy Linux box is crunching through these episodes right now. And based on the speed with which I'm able to do this, I am estimating that by the time by this time next week, I should have almost all of the rest of the episodes done. So that's a pretty nice result. But these transcriptions could use some work. So if you click on any of these links, you should be able to, you have the ability to improve the transcriptions because they're all done by machines. And that would really, really help me out. So if you feel like contributing, if you're not sure how to contribute and you'd like to, you can click on any of these links and contribute corrections to the transcriptions. And if you want to see what that looks like in action, check out the last episode, episode 131, because I show an example of doing that. Okay, now that I've plugged Adzo and the automatic transcription stuff, I finally want to plug a show that I've been doing for a couple of weeks now, a couple months I should say, called The Joy of Profiling, which is a show where myself and other engineers look at performance profiles from Firefox, and we try and analyze them for actions to make the browser faster. And if that's interesting to you, there's a link in the agenda here to watch that show, along with a link to a form that you can use to submit a profile for us to analyze on the show itself. So if you click on that link and you get a performance profile, and there's a link here on how to do that, then you can post the profile, link to it, and submit it, and then we will look at it. If you give us the permission to look at it, we'll look at it on the show and analyze it for you. So that is the end of my plugs. I have one last thing to say before we get into it, and that is this show could end, episode 132 could end very abruptly, because I have a family member who is possibly having a child today. And if that occurs, then this black rectangle will start making noises, and I will have to make a fast exit. So if that occurs, don't be alarmed. That's what's going on, and I'll end the episode, and that'll be it. So just preparing you for that. So with that having all been said, and having burned about 8 minutes, let's get into it. What do I want to do today? First of all, I want to open this can of Coke Zero. And secondly, I want to look at, well, first of all, I want to give some good news. Remember TabWarming? If you've been watching this show for like the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018, we were working on this project called TabWarming. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, the episode guides should point out where we worked with TabWarming, and it was a long slog. We worked on it for months. Well, guess what? It's on by default in Nightly right now, and we did it. You were there. You saw me doing, you were with me while hacking through TabWarming stuff, and we did it. We landed it, and it's enabled. So if you are on Nightly, right now, if you get a recent build of Nightly, and you switch tabs, TabWarming is enabled. So you're getting that sweet tab switching performance from TabWarming, which I'm pretty pleased about. Pleased as punch. And I'm collecting, hopefully we'll be looking at some performance telemetry on tab switching, and hopefully we'll see a change. In particular, I'm hoping that where's the measurement dashboard? One of the probes I'm hoping we'll see a dip in is not first paint, but tab switch. I think there's a probe called tab switch total E10S. So this is the total time to switch a tab and to complete a tab switch and display the new tab. And I'm hoping when we look at the mean and the median that we'll see a drop off over the time where we introduced TabWarming. So hopefully, like, this is up until, we've got data up until March 12th being displayed here, and that's not enough. I think we enabled TabWarming yesterday. So hopefully what I'm going to see is a nice drop on this probe. That's the hope. Fingers crossed. So we'll keep an eye out. And you yourself can watch that probe in action and being updated if you want. So TabWarming has been enabled. We did it. fireworks. And here's the telemetry probe to watch. Telemetry probe to watch to see if there are improvements. And I hope there will be. But whenever we enabled it, there was a regression in one of our performance tests. So we run a number of performance tests, and one of them is called TabPaint. TabPaint is a measurement of how long it takes us to paint a tab whenever we've opened it, either from the parent, if the parent says open a new tab and load this page, or from a link within another tab. So if I click on a link which opens a tab. So it measures those 2 times. The time between clicking and then a new tab opening and showing the content of the new tab. And that new tab is blank. It mostly displays just like nothing. And there was a regression, a 8 to 11% regression on Linux and Mac OS from enabling TabWarming, and I need to figure out what's going on here. If this has any hope of sticking on nightly, we need to figure out what's happening. We need to understand it. So that's what I'm hoping to do today. There's a quick alert here. Just making sure everything's still looking good. Yep, everything's looking good there. So what I am going to do, first of all, is show you the data. So this is the data. If we look at, so a day ago, iGolden, one of our performance sheriffs who monitors our benchmarks for regressions from pushes, filed this bug and said, hey, there's been a regression here and here on TabPaint. And then he did he posted some handy links here, and in particular, he posted, this was the regressing commit, so there's no ambiguity. It was enabling TabWarming did it, no question. And then he posted this report, which shows that an alert occurred where, with a high degree of certainty, TabPaint got worse. And we can look at the subtests for these individual tests, for the TabPaint test, so like opening from content and opening from parent. Interestingly, it's opening from parent that got slower. And is that the case for OS X as well? We'll look at that. And we don't know. It doesn't say, which is kind of frustrating. We might be able to look at the graph and see with more certainty. Because maybe if we say Mac OS TabPaint Platform Project Autoland Talos Paint include subtests. So TabPaint, I want TabPaint from content and TabPaint from parent, and I'll add those to the graph here. Interestingly, TabPaint from content does not move at all. TabPaint from parent jumps up quite a bit. Right here, it jumps right up. So in both cases, TabPaint from parent is the subtest where things are going wrong. So that's the first useful piece of information. And now we need to look at how TabPaint from parent works. So a Talos test is very similar to any other test where we're running some JavaScript in the browser to instrument some stuff. It's an add-on, the TabPaint test, and the way it works is we install the add-on, and the first thing that happens is this bootstrap stuff is called, and we call TabPaint.init. Startup is called automatically by the add-on infrastructure, and we call TabPaint.init. And what TabPaint.init does is it registers some message listeners for TabPaint.go or TabPaint Go and TabPaint Painted, and then it also opts out of ETNS multi, so we only have a single content process, and then it also disables tab animations because we don't care about tab animations here. We don't want to include that in our calculations. And then it just sits there. And the other thing that the test infrastructure does is it loads this tabpaint.html document. And what that document does is it waits for this HTML document to load. And when it loads, it calls init, and If the auto hash is in the location, which it is when we run it from Talos, then it does all of this work. So it gets the message manager for this tab, and it sends an async message that says TabPaint go, meaning we're ready to rock, let's do this. And so we receive the message TabPaint go, and then we call go with the G browser. And go calls open tab from parent and then open tab from content. And open tab from parent is the one we care about. That's the one that's regressed. So what's interesting about that is that it is the first test. So if I were to take notes on this regression, that is the first thing that I would. Well, let's maybe start a note here on this regression. Oh, my computer is pretty sluggish whenever I'm using OBS. 1445213, and I'm going to drop this link here, this URL, and like first observation, TabPaint from parent is the one that regresses. TabPaint from content does not regress at all. So that's a useful piece of information. Second observation is TabPaint from parent is the first test that occurs. TabPaint from content is the second. So is that the factor? Is that the difference? That TabPaint from parent is the first. So we could find that out. That's a thing worth investigating. Open tab from parent. So what does this do? It opens a tab from the parent. So that means that the parent initiates the tab open as opposed to the content, where the content notices a link click, sends a message to the parent, which then opens the tab. Open tab from parent is the parent, like the user saying control tab or something. So it opens a tab from the parent, waits till it's displayed, then removes the tab. So the first thing we do is we resume the profiler. We say add a tab. We pass the target URI. We pass the current date, which isn't a super awesome way of doing this. And then we say wait until the tab is shown. And when tab is shown is when we will stop the stopwatch, essentially. So when tab is shown is a promise that takes the resolver of that promise and hangs it off a property on this TabPaint object called paint callback. And paint callback is called here whenever we receive a message that says TabPaint painted, and I suspect that comes from the target tab, or the target.html, which is the document that opens up in the tab that is being opened. And so that tab has very little in it. It has this like paragraph that just says TabPaint, and then we listen for this Moz after paint event, and then we eventually figure out what time it is at the time of painting, and then we calculate the difference between when we were asked to open and when we did present, and then we send this message, this delta, TabPaint painted. And so this delta is greater with TabWarming enabled than it is with it disabled. So that's an interesting result. So first of all, what I want to do is determine whether or not we can reproduce this regression locally. Because if we can, then we are in decent shape to investigate it. So the first thing I'm going to do is shelve any work that I have currently sitting in the working directory. Let's see if I have any using hgdiff. I'll pump up the font a little so you can see what's going on. hgdiff is timing out because OBS is using how much of my CPU? A lot of it. So that's not so good. What else is using my CPU a lot? Let's bring up Activity Monitor. OBS, and there's something in my web content. Oh, you know what's using a lot of it? I'll bet it is this thing, which I'm going to close. It's the management tool for AirMozilla 2. I'm going to close that. Let's see if that helps. Oh, and there's another window, the Oh, did I close the management tool? I did. So then this, yeah, that's going down a little bit. Been still thinking, but you can see this nice little drop off there. Let's see if it's going to finish cleaning up. Let's see if that goes down. All right, and it goes right down. That's nice. So meanwhile, there's nothing in the working directory. I'm confident that I can work with this, so let's just leave the tree as it is, and let's try and run the TabPaint test. So here's how you run a Talos test. Mock Talos test A, then you tell it which test you want, TabPaint. And let's see what happens when I do that. And while that's happening, I'm going to take a quick bite of a sandwich, because I had to cut my lunch short. Okay, so first thing that Talos does is it opens a window and just like sets everything up, and then it closes it and then restarts the browser and then does this test a bunch. All right. So here are the results. TabPaint from parent and TabPaint from content. And I'm going to take this information. Let's add some stuff to our notes here. Local runs. And then with TabWarming enabled. So with TabWarming enabled, and then with TabWarming disabled. So to disable TabWarming, I will spin up build. I'm going to disable warming. Make sure that that's built in. Take another quick bite of my sandwich. Now the good news is that the signal from the regression was very strong. Like it wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't in the 1% or 2%. So what I'm hoping is that it's strong enough that we'll be able to detect it with a single run, as opposed to having to do many runs to denoise things. So let's take a look at the numbers now. Whoops, I should copy the whole thing. With TabWarming disabled, those are the numbers. Now, yeah, look at the average. It came right down. The median comes down. The standard deviation is a lot lower. Now let's look at the individual numbers. 174, 118. This is the sort of numbers we're getting from with TabWarming enabled, and then with TabWarming disabled, we're getting much lower numbers here. So that's good. We are getting we are seeing the regression locally. That's fantastic news. What that means is that we can actually debug this locally. Excuse me, which is fantastic. That's exactly what you want. So let's look into it a little bit. What we can do is we can start with profiling. That's usually the best bet. Is we're gonna start by having let's see if it was the last time I did this. Mock build symbols. I'm pretty sure I need to do this step in order to in order to profile and get symbols correctly. Now while it's doing that, we can also do a rerun of the test, but I'm going to enable logging. So I already did some of this, and maybe we can just look at the logging that I did on the server. So I pushed to try, thinking, having not attempted to reproduce the problem locally, I pushed to our automation machines and captured a log there. And so I want to look at those logs and see if there are any patterns. And the logging's in the tab switcher. Oh, minor interruption. I landed, one thing you might notice in the latest nightly is if you go to any sort of link and hover a link, you notice how in the bottom left corner, you can't see where I'm pointing, but the little URL shows up in the bottom left corner. If you go away from that and then you go back to the same link, it doesn't appear again. That's a bug. That's a very recent bug, and I have a patch to fix that. That's 1445455, and I got R+, and I pushed to try, and I've gotten green back, which I'm pretty happy about. And it didn't do the test verifies, which are a little annoying, but I feel pretty confident about just landing this, so let's just land it. So I'm going to land it. Ooh, tab switch spinner. Am I profiling? I'm not profiling. That would have been nice to capture that. Maybe I can catch the tail end of it. In the meantime, let's land these things. Ooh, yeah, something's going on here. The main thread was all janky, and so were the content processes. What was happening? Something with my graphics driver. I was waiting on my graphics driver to move memory around, so I was blocked on the compositor. And over here, was it the same thing? I'll bet you it was. Yeah. We're sending a message to the compositor, and we're waiting for the message to come back from the compositor. So the compositor got bogged down for some reason. The HR is hanging. Initializing new compositor. Huh. Why is that taking so long? Something, something, something. Compositor. Look at all these all these addresses, so useless. Find symbol in library. We're trying to load a symbol. Why are we trying to load symbols? Oh, probably because we detected a hang and we're like trying to. Oh, who knows? Who knows? But the compositor's not having a great time, and we can look at that later. But for now, let's land the status panel fix that I landed before. Alright, go ahead and land that. And then we can forget about that and go back to our log. And meanwhile, we're building symbols still. I mean, building symbols is very, well, the CPU is being eaten up like crazy. Web content's being eaten up like crazy again, too. What is happening? Let's see if we can find out. The profiler is not super good at finding out why the CPU is going crazy, just so you know. But here I see there is one content process that's just going nuts, and it is trying to GC a lot. And why? What even is in this content process? It's process 58802, which is which tab? This one. And this one. Let's close that. Like, now if I reprofile, is it still trying to collect like crazy? I'm mostly just killing time while these symbols build. but I also want to look at that log. But first of all, I'm getting distracted. I want to find out when my browser slowed down. 58802, I'll bet, right? Is that still 58802? You tell me. Yeah. Still collecting like crazy, and then it went away. Interesting. My phone just made a noise. Let me just quickly check that there's not been a baby. To be clear, not my child. It is a family member's child that I'm waiting to hear about. Yeah, we're all good. Alright, so why were we collecting so much? 588802. Just a quick... Usually whenever you're doing a lot of cycle collection, it means that you might have just a lot of stuff on the heap, and maybe that means that we're leaking or something, but memory report can sometimes help. Oh, I got some ghost windows. Twitch is being a ghost window. Twitch is still open. I wonder why. Discard and stop. Ghost window there. Lots of ghost windows. And some detached windows. And then perf.html about new tab. The ghost windows. Those ghost windows are bad news. That's exactly the sort of thing that will cause us to jank up. Well, for now, just so that we can keep moving forward, let's try and shut down the process. Alright, so those symbols are still building, and maybe we can look at this log. So TabPaint is what we cared about, and here's where the test starts. And we start logging tab switches. So the initial tab is loaded as true, and then we say, hey, load tab 1 at about blank, and we switch to it. Set request tab doc shell octet and preserve layers to false. So that tab is visible. Tab should be blank is false. Requested tab is remote is true. And then we show it. We show that tab, and then the layers become ready anyways. That's interesting. That's interesting. We get layers ready to come up even though we were already visible. Tab 1 was already visible. And then we switch back to the original tab. Huh. And then we open it from the content process, presumably. And it's the same situation where we get an on layers ready, even though the tab says I am loaded. Set requested on layer. Oh no, we do get an on layers ready up here. Did we get one earlier? We get an on layers ready here, and then a second on layers ready here. It was already ready. Where does this service tab doc shell active and preserve layers to false? When does that happen? Async tab switcher. It happens when we maybe activate the doc shell. We say doc shell is active is true. We say, hey, on layers ready. On layers ready. Notice as well, I mean, we say finish. We say finish even though the first tab never unloads. But maybe that's okay, because the first tab we switch to, because we can switch to it immediately. We request tab 0, and we switch back to it immediately after the first tab loads, the new tab loads, and is closed. And then we can just say we're done. Okay. That's probably okay. So I guess my next question is, okay, why did the window of time open up? Why did the window of time change? Is it because inside target.html, Moz after paint is fired later? Or is it because we only pay attention to a particular Moz after paint? Did something, why did it move forward? Can I assume it moved forward? If so, why did it move forward so much? And how much did it move forward by? Let's see here. 174, 118, 101, 103, 120. It's more than a frame for the most part. And some of these are big ones. 146, 174, 153. You never saw anything that high back then. There were little jumps, like notice you get these little jumps here, then we're down to the 70s. Well, that was just like the one jump. You kind of come down after a while. Is this sorted? It's not sorted. Okay. Interesting. The first one, the second one, and then it all kind of drops off, but like they still are pretty bad. Gotta get these symbols done so that we can profile and find out what's really going on. But another thing we could do is make sure that we can run the test. Dump saw Moz after paint in content, and then saw valid, and then rejecting invalid Moz after paint content. So let's go back to our test and just run it and see what happens whenever we have TabWarming enabled. I'm already in that directory. And is TabWarming enabled right now? Yes, it is. I think I built it, but let's just double check. Oh, phone made a noise, just quickly checking that. I think we're all good. Yeah. Okay, so let's run the test again. This time, let's also enable logging here. So in async tab switcher, use dump for logging. We're going to set that to true. Build that, and then we'll run the test again. Hello, Joseph H. Dodson, or Joseph Dodson, not Joseph H. Hello, Joseph Dodson. You said hello, and hello back. Good to see you. How are you? Alright, so, oh, and our symbols are done. This is working out nicely. So we're going to run the test again, TabPaint. We're also going to use logging, and we're dumping out some information about, Moz after paint. What would be really nice is if I could like add profile markers, and maybe I will. Window.performance. Was it? I think it's like window.performance.mark. Yeah, window.performance.mark. Moz after paint in target.html. Valid Moz after paint. And that'll show up in the profiles, which will be handy. So let me build yet again, build faster. Actually, I'm not sure if I need to do the build faster because the add-on, if I'm only changing the add-on, I don't think I have to actually rebuild. All right, we're gonna run Talus test, TabPaint, and I'm gonna say gecko profile, and then I'm gonna say symbols path, and pass the path to symbols, which I think is here. Nope. Dist. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I think that'll work. Does not accept gecko profile. What do you accept? Print test, code coverage, style of threads, framework, set pref, web server, symbols. Oh, it's camel case. And then what about gecko profile? Gecko profile is also camel case. Okay, fine. Camel case time. Symbols path gecko profile. Note as well that whenever we are profiling, we only do 2 cycles, which may or may not be important, because notice how after a while the profile reaches a steady or the test reaches a steady state, more or less, or it seems to converge just a little bit. There are little dips here and there. At least with warming disabled, there does seem to be a little bit of convergence down here into the low 70s, mid 70s. Now this step here is where it's symbolic ating, and that sometimes takes a couple seconds. We're just going to wait for it to finish that up. And now we can open up this archive and take a look. Make sure that we can profile properly. Let's look at cycle 2. Okay. All right. We can get rid of content process 1, I guess. Don't need that. I don't even know why we have a content process 1, to be completely honest, because we're supposed to have turned off E10S multi. And what did we get? We had 213 milliseconds here. This is, I believe, if I have read the chart correctly. Let's capture all these samples. We'll look at the chart. This is TabPaint parent start is right around here, and then TabPaint parent end is around there. And then if we look for the user timing, that's Moz after paint happens right here. And then the next composite happens, which the parent then hears about. I think Moz layer tree ready, and then we do something about it. I think the Moz layer tree ready event is what caused us to stop and gather the profile. Okay, so roughly here is whenever the test ends, and that's about 198. Now, how much did we report for the second run? About 168. So I'm off by 94, 168. So I'm off by a little bit. Tab parent start and tab parent end. It says it's about there. Whoopsie daisy. Oops, I think I did that wrong. Parent start, tab parent end. So roughly about there. Okay. And the moths after paint that we care about is here. And I only see one of them, right here. This moths after paint. There's page show, DOM content loaded of the document, and then over here, what's happening over here? Also note that the distance between here and here is about 150 milliseconds. So the parent is doing a bunch of stuff. We do a style flush here and a style flush there. That's not super great. And let's see if there's anything about warming up in here. Not really. And down here, render layers. No, it happens so fast. There's a set doc shell is active. Paint. Here we're painting the original tab, original content, having, I guess, we've painted it. And then we paint, we composite. We're done. Moths after paint, and then we do all of this work. So now let's take a look at whenever tab warming is disabled. Let's save this for now. Let's upload this. I'll upload that. So tab warming enabled. I'm going to actually I'm going to start a new one. Tab warming enabled profile. Second run. Our second cycle. And I will bold this, and let's drop in the data from here. And let's bold that while we're at it. And now let's do tab warming disabled profiling. Tab warming disabled, and then we can compare the two and try and see what is up. So back over here, false. So what's interesting is if we go through the log again, you can see that like we never see an invalid moths after paint. So that theory that, oh, maybe we're ditching some invalid moths after paints, I think that's bunk. I do find this weird though. On layers ready occurs, and then another on layers ready. Could that be our problem, that we call on layers ready twice? Let's see what happens when we disable tab warming and run the experiment again. Okay. Still a mild regression from before, 151 versus 168. So, something like basically a frame's worth of time is lost. And now we need to take a look at it. Also note, it's even more humongous the first cycle. Maybe we should look at that too, the first cycles. No module name, JSON schema. What? Well, let's take a look at whether or not that uploaded properly. Okay, so let's look at cycle 2. Okay, so we'll dive in here. Let's upload the profile. And then add it to the note. So that's interesting. The paint does occur to happen sooner over here. We're painting right here. We say paint the target, and that occurs quite a bit sooner. 135 seconds from the first sample. Or hang on, yeah, 135 seconds from the first sample. And in the bad case, I like to put good profiles first and then bad profiles second, just so as a convention. And then versus over here, it's 175, which is a big drop. Although it looks like we're painting over here as well. We reflow, and then do we paint it all? Paint. We paint here. Oh yeah, we do paint. We paint right there. And then is Moz after paint fired? I don't think it is. So this paint happens when? 157. That's in the bad case. In the good case, how long is this? 138. Still pretty rough. Now why? We're just waiting around in here. Let's get rid of content process 1. What's the holdup? Why do we wait so long to paint? We take longer to paint, certainly in the good case. Is it because we were asked later? For example, let's ignore the content process. Let's look at just the parent. In the good case, what are we at here? Let's just look at JavaScript for a second. This block of JavaScript runs for how long? 90 samples. Open tab from parent runs for 106 samples in total. And then in the parent process of the bad case, we'll look at the JS only. Open tab from parent runs for 107 samples. So it's about the same amount of time. Good case, bad case. Good case, bad case. In the bad case, we don't paint until way later. Good case, we paint right here. And then the Moz after paint fires here after the composite. Bad case, whoa. We don't paint until way later, and then after the next composite, we skip the composite. So the composite happens here, and then we fire the event. So it's like we missed a composite, or like the paint, if it had happened here, it would have been a better place. Paint timestamp. Let's see. So why would that have taken a while? Well, let's also look at this chunk of JavaScript over here. Receiving a message. progress listeners. Over here, progress listeners update. We painted sooner in the good case. Why would we have painted sooner in the good case? Let's look at the good case. What do we paint in reaction to? We paint in reaction to a message that says update dimensions, and when we do that, we force a reflow interruptible layout. We calculate styles, and then we paint right here. We build layers and we paint. And that all happens because we hear, hey, run your paint task. And we ran a paint task because we were told, hey, receive update dimensions. Over here, when do we receive update dimensions? We don't really. What kicks off the paint in this case? Interruptible layout occurs Y off of the refresh driver. Because why? Instead of, hey, you've send update dimensions, receive update dimensions, and then we set the boundary of the window and force a paint to occur. Update dimensions occurs. And I don't see that here at all. Why is that? So who sends the update dimensions message? Send update dimensions. Okay, here. And who calls that? Show remote frame update position and size. Ooh, what was that? Let's turn send update dimensions. Frame loader. NS frame loader. Nothing? How about TabPaint? TabPaint, and over here, TabPaint. TabPaint does some stuff here where we receive a message. Receive a message here, form validation. When do we send a message with TabPaint? This is in receipt of a message. And we call OpenTab from parent. So here's my current operating theory. with tab warming enabled, for some reason, we're skipping this early paint. This paint doesn't occur when we expect it to. It only happens here, and then after the next composites when we hear about it. Before, we were getting this paint happening because a reflow was queued, because something happened. We needed to paint because of the update dimensions stuff. And we're not getting that update dimensions stuff, or at least I don't have a sample with that update dimensions stuff. Here, let's do another quick test. Tab parent. Oh, here's another thing. We can take a look at our run here. Does it have that on layers ready, that double on layers ready thing? We request tab 1. On layers ready 1 is true, and then on layers ready is true again. Yeah, okay, it does. What's interesting though is that the tab 1 starts out as unloaded, and then in the previous run, did it also start out as unloaded? Yeah, okay. Let me just double check here before building symbols. What am I looking at here? Yeah, okay, never mind. It started out as unloaded. So what I want to do next is, let's see if we can update dimensions here. Let's print when that occurs. And then we don't need this. We don't need a profile this time necessarily. I just needed this test to run a few times. So let's say class TabPaint. We'll have this thing only cycled twice. And then we're going to run it with and without TabWarming. And actually, instead of having to rebuild every time, I can set a pref whenever I'm running the command. So I'll do that instead. That way I don't have to keep rebuilding whenever I switch back and forth between the two modes. Let's see if there's anyone chatting in the chat. Joseph Dodson says GG. Well, GG to you too, Joseph Dodson. All right, so let's run it again, this time without profiling. And we're going to run with TabWarming enabled. So don't need to set any prefs. Let's just run it with TabWarming enabled. Okay, with TabWarming enabled, I do see an ascending update dimensions here. I do see ascending update dimensions here. So we start initial tab, sending update dimensions. So we do send it. We send it early on here too. I think that might be a red herring. All right, let's go back to our profiles again. Maybe we need more profiles. Maybe this is not typical. What we need is like something that's more typical. Let's, instead of gathering, let's do this. I'm gonna put us back so that we're not logging, and we don't need this logging anymore either. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, instead of doing 2 runs with profiling, I'm going to do 10 runs with profiling and gather more profiles. So whenever we have Gecko profiling enabled, we reduce the number of runs on purpose, and I have to find out where that is. Cycle. Gecko profile, cycle, cycle. Page cycles, page cycles. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to disable this. Run tests. Here. So I'm just going to disable this entire chunk. Don't need it. So now let's run again with profiling and see what happens. So this is with TabWarming enabled. PhDev says, "Yo Mike, I'm not saying anything since I'm working here, but you're good company." Hey PhDev, you're good company too. I like having you around. Thanks for being here. What is up? What? Hold on a second. That was definitely supposed to run more than twice. Oh, you know what happened? We didn't update this number. So instead of doing it 20, I'll do it 10 times. So let's do that again. I don't know if PhDev is from New York or Brooklyn, but I think I gave you accidentally a Brooklyn accent. Yo, Mike. I think if anyone starts a sentence with yo in my head, like if I read it, automatically I hear a stereotypical Brooklyn, New York accent. Yo, Mike. Okay, so we have some profiles here. A lot of profiles. So I'm going to start overwriting some of the stuff from before. TabWarming enabled with profiling. I'm going to Oh, you know what? There's another thing we could do here. Not only can we run with more page cycles, we could run the sampler at a higher frequency. Sample. Where is it? Gecko profile interval. Interval is what I think it runs at 10. I think it's running at 10 by default. Class TabPaint inherits from page loader test, and page loader test sorry, let me bring up the bottom of my screen. You see what I'm typing. inherits from test, and class test has a it doesn't have a oh yeah, here we go, base. Well, let's set an interval regardless. I don't know what the default is, but let's make sure that we have a really tight interval here. TabPaint, let's set an interval of 1 millisecond. 10 cycles, 1 millisecond sampling interval. Let's do it. PhDev is like, I'm from Brazil, man. That is that is not New York. I apologize. Sorry, and I don't know. I mean, I'm using the IRC bridge. I'm not sure if Twitch chat normally says where people are from, like if it gives like a little flag or something. I'm guessing it wouldn't. But I'm sorry, PhDev. I didn't know you're from Brazil. I just automatically assumed because you started with yo that you're from Brooklyn or New York City. I apologize. Should not have made that assumption. Okay, so let's replace this with this. TabWarming enabled profile, and this is with 1 millisecond resolution, 1 millisecond sampling interval. And there's nothing wrong with saying yo Mike. Go ahead and just say yo Mike, that's fine. But I'll automatically assume you're from Brooklyn. Okay, so there does appear to be a steady state around here where we settle around 120 towards the end. 120, 120, 120. Let us open that zip file. Let's get rid of these other zip files. And let's rename this folder to Profile TabPaint Warming Bad, just so that we don't lose track of it. And then let's do another profile run, but this time we're going to set a pref. We're going to set the set pref. We're going to say disable warming. So this way we don't have to rebuild. Warming is false. Hopefully that works. Let's try it.
Mamma mia!
Okay. So with warming disabled, 158, 138, the first sample certainly comes down quite a bit. It was at 267. So let's copy that stuff to the document. We dropped down to 158 from 267, 139 from 157. It's like pretty consistently lower, but not always. That one's higher, the fourth run. But after that, it drops off. But then they kind of even out around here. Well, then this one gets even lower. So let's look at the very last sample, or the very last cycle. Let that be our comparator, where things have hopefully evened out. And so let's open this zip file where the profiles went. I'm going to call this no warming good. So good, we'll take the last profile. So this is the good profile. And then bad This is the bad profile. And again, we're looking at the first and the first. Ooh. Thankfully, I was capturing profiles at that point because I saw a spinner and I'm curious. And I was hanging because why? I think it's because the compositor again. I'll bet you it's OBS. You know, all this recording from my screen is probably bogging down the macOS compositor. Yeah, compositor right there, and another one right here. We detected a hang. And we're trying to allocate transaction. Okay, well anyways, not to get distracted. Good on the left, bad on the right. Good on the left, bad on the right. And here is layer tree ready. And so here's layer tree ready in the bad case. Layer tree ready means A, we're all done, show the tab we just switched to. That's the bad case. Come on, compositor. And then layer tree ready in the good case is here. So it's 121 in the bad case and 113 in the good case. Bad, good, bad, good. So one thing that strikes me is that we don't spend a whole lot of time like blocking on stuff in the bad case before we paint. I think it's more about scheduling. Like, we're just waiting to hear to paint and then we just do it. We paint and then we're done. Paint, composite, done. And the composite, I don't know where that happens here, probably somewhere in here. But the paint happens here about 18 milliseconds after that pause, and here about 18 milliseconds. So how long is this whole region of JavaScript is the next question. 75 milliseconds in the good case, 82 milliseconds in the bad case. So what if the reason that we're regressing is because we're doing more stuff in the parent before we send the message to render layers? Set render layers, set doc shell is active. We load the requested tab. That's in the bad case. And then here, render layers. Doc shell. You say set doc shell is active. We insert a browser. We add the tab. The doc shell. We insert the tab here, the new tab, and we say your doc shell is not active. We do the same thing here. We say your dock shell is not active. And then what do we do? We update display. Update display takes 34 milliseconds. Update display takes 30 milliseconds in the good case, 34 milliseconds in the bad case. Let's zoom in on that a little. Setting the focus. We blur, we send focus or blur, that takes 22 milliseconds, 26 milliseconds over here. So let's zoom in on that. And it causes us to style flush. The style flush takes 21 milliseconds here. The style flush over here. Takes 25 milliseconds. And why is that? Because we're moving memory. We're moving memory. And then what happens next in the good case? Update display, and then what's over here? Adjusting the focus after the tab switch. Right here, and that takes 21 milliseconds, 21 milliseconds. And over here, what's this? We're calling listeners. We're calling update current browser, it takes 11 milliseconds. And then over here, update browser costs 9 milliseconds. Meanwhile, what's going down here in the same process that was, oh, we're constructing ourselves. We get ourselves going. And like all of this stuff, take a lock. Let's drop the, let's drop weighting. Background hang monitor, notify, and then over here, okay. This is just setting up. And setting up takes not that long, I don't think. In the good case, we paint because we received an update on dimensions. And in the bad case, we paint because I received an update on dimensions. Okay. .98 milliseconds from there to there. Less in the good case. Why? Maybe it's because there are other messages in the queue before we get to this one. Could that be it? More likely it's because we didn't receive the message. Or like the message wasn't sent until later. Receive update dimensions. Send update dimensions. Bad case. Dimensions. No, never. Style flash is 20 milliseconds here. 21 milliseconds. 26, 20. We handle the select event for 22 milliseconds in the bad case. 21 milliseconds. Select event here, second select event, 9.6 milliseconds. 11 milliseconds over here. That style flush. Why with warming would that be worse? Let's do an experiment. Let's change the order that the tests run in. So before we were running TabPaint. We were running content, then parent. Or parent, then content. Let's do it the other way around. Let's not profile. Let's run with warming enabled. Okay, so when let me write this down. TabPaint test with parent and content subtests swapped, warming enabled. So I'm really just kind of feeling around for what this problem might be. Warming disabled. So let's get ready for that. What was it? Set pref. It was this. Okay. So when we swap them, TabPaint from parent is warming disabled, average. Aha. TabPaint from parent gets worse. And TabPaint from content gets better. Warming disabled. So the first tab might be related. The standard deviation goes way up when you're no matter what, there's more noise. Standard deviation way up. TabPaint from parent is way up here. because of that first one. 502, that's crazy. And then it goes down. Here, the average went up. Warming enabled. Warming disabled. But like, notice how it is faster. Like, that was an outlier. That was a huge weight here. Let's do that again. Let's do that again. I don't believe those numbers. Let's see here. MIBRQT42G says, hello, I thought viewers can chat to Mike while he's streaming. You can, but I don't normally see your messages unless you say my name. Like, if you have to say like M. Conley, and then I'll notice it. Otherwise, I don't glance over. So for the people who are wondering about that, if you've dropped into the room and I'm not responding, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I didn't notice. I didn't notice because I'm not checking constantly. Here again, with warming disabled, that first value is really high. Oh, you know what that might be? Let's disable preloading. New tab preloading. New tab preloading disabled. I'll explain what that is in just a quick sec. Well, I can explain it right now while it's running. So whenever we open a new tab from the parent, I think this is true, we preload the next About New tab for you so that it's ready and waiting for you. We kind of load it silently in the background as an optimization, and I think that might be adding noise here. Warming disabled, new tab preloading disabled. Okay, now let's do it with warming enabled. There's probably a faster way of like clearing a bunch of characters in iTerm, but I don't know what it is. Average is 114 versus 141. Warming disabled. Warming enabled. New tab preloading disabled. So with warming enabled, and if I disable new tab preloading, the averages go down on both substantially. That's interesting. Could this have something to do with new tab preloading? So let's instead of let's put the order back the way it was, and let's run that again. So without the swapping. So this is TabPaint test with warming. What was it? Warming is disabled. Preloading is disabled. Warming disabled. Preloading disabled. now TabPaint test with warming enabled. Let's do warming enabled. And I think I've been doing a enabled and then disabled. Warming enabled. So let's do that one next. I guess I could just set the pref to true. I don't have to just like get rid of it, but whatever. Okay. So the average with preloading and warming disabled is lower than with warming enabled in that case. And warming enabled. Wait a second. Wait a second. Whoopsie daisy. Paste. No. I got my data analysis wrong. These are the ones we care about. With warming enabled versus disabled. Warming enabled. Warming disabled. The average is about the same. The median is about the same. With warming enabled, the average here is slightly better, but not significantly, I'd say. The average here is slightly worse, but not significantly. So I think preloading might be related. So here's what I'm planning on doing. Let's go back to our profiles. Good and bad. Good and bad. Let's take a look at new tab. Is there anything about new tab or activity stream? Aha! What's that? Nope, that's not it. I'm going to push a patch to try. Let's take a look here. Let's revert all my changes. Whoops. Not Al. Oh, it understood it. That's good. What I want to do is push a patch that disables preloading for about new tab. TabPaint. The TabPaint test. Class TabPaint. False. So let's commit disable new tab preloading for TabPaint Talos test. And then what do I want to do? I want to do two pushes. One that has warming enabled, so push to try. And I'm going to say, here's try chooser. I want to push, let's say Linux, artifact builds, opt only. I want no profiles, but I want Talos numbers, and I want other, which is where TabPaint is run. And so this is with warming enabled. Know about new tab preloading with warming enabled. Push that to try.
What happened? Hey, what happened? I can't do my work.
Just waiting for this to push.
I
Come
can't
on.
do my work.
And then I'm gonna push another one that has. There we go. So I can push. Follow the progress there. Try build with preloading disabled for TabPaint. This is warming, no warming. So I need try push with warming disabled. Disable warming. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then after I push that, I think I'm going to end the episode. Thankfully, I didn't have to end this early because a newborn child did not arrive. Just to be clear, if you're curious about what I mean, I have family. It's not my child. I have family who is waiting for a new child to be born today. And if my phone had gone off during this episode, I would have had to make a quick exit to go to the hospital to see everybody. But that did not occur. That's good for this episode, but means that the baby has not arrived yet, unfortunately. But soon. Okay, no about with warming disabled. Disabled. Push that to try. And then that's it. I'll put the if you want to follow along, the notes that I've been writing in here, I'm actually going to put a link to that. Let me link that here. I'll copy that to the clipboard, and I will put that in the agenda right here. And you can, then that will synchronize. Boop, boop, boop. So if you're looking at the agenda, reload the page, you can look at the notes. I'm going to keep uploading or updating those notes as I figure out more and more about this thing. And hopefully we'll have this sorted out soon. And you can follow along in the bug as well. The bug is bug 1445213. The link to that's in the agenda, and you can just follow along as I sort this out. I'm pretty confident that this will work out, but you just never know. Okay, so let's put that over here, and that's it. I'm gonna call it there. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 1. What was this? Episode 132 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was a pleasurable episode, and I hope you got something out of it. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you didn't enjoy this episode, if you wished you saw me do something different, or something's broken, or the stream didn't work, or the resolution's too low, let me know. In the agenda and in all the places where the agenda is available, there's a link to rate the episode. I even put a photo of myself giving like a thumbs up in the form, in that the rate this episode form, so you can check that photo out while you give me your feedback. Let me know what you thought. I read everything that comes in, and it helps me shape this episode. And please help transcribe episodes. Go back to the beginning of the video if you're curious about what I'm talking about, or watch episode 131 because I talk about that there. And with that, let's close it out. Thanks so much, and take care. Have a great week. Goodbye. Oh, hold on. Whoopsie daisy. Screwed up. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of code.
Bye.